there's this great story because my dad also had a very youthful face, of my parents being on an airplane once, and my dad got talking to the person next to him, and he was talking about me, like his daughter, and said I think I was 25 or something at the time, and the woman was like, "Oh, you don't look old enough to have a daughter that old. Like you must be looking very young or something." And my mum goes, "What about me?" And she was like, "Oh no, I see that."
Not a girl's girl.
My mum was really offended, and I was like,
I,
"Why did you ask? Like, if it's not offered to you, don't ask." Welcome to the Bookcast Club, a podcast for people who like to read books. My name is Sarah, and I am coming to you today from Lutruwita, also known as Tasmania in Australia, and I'm very pleased to be welcoming Chris back to the podcast. Welcome, Chris. Hello.
Hello.
Nice to see you again. Where are you coming to us from?
I am coming to you from a cornfield that we call Greenfield, Indiana. Very small town outside of Indianapolis.
Oh, I didn't even look it up. I meant to look it up earlier. I might look it up now. Because I've never heard of it. Because I'm not as...
Oh, it's very, very rural. We have the best thing about the town, because there's very little to do. There is one rail trail that runs through the town that's about 6 miles long, and everybody goes on it to bike, walk, and it's beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
And that's about the only thing we have to do. So
It looks quite cute. I'm looking at the Riley Park and Splash Pad. Is that somewhere you know?
yes, it's evidently the poet James Whitcomb Riley has Greenfield roots. And I've lived here for a whole year now, and I have not looked into these roots. But let me tell you, he is basically venerated as a deity in this town.
Okay.
There's Riley Park. There's a museum. There's a big old mural.
Okay.
Yeah, the library is full of his books.
Cute.
I should read some of the poems and see what I think, you know?
Well... Should you?
Yeah, maybe
if you want. If you want, do what you like. I'm not here to tell you what to do. Welcome back, though. So happy to have you back on. We've got you for a guest episode today, I guess, or whatever.
Yes.
Just here to catch up. This is just delightful. Do you want to tell us how you've been, or something? Let's just talk about how we've been, maybe.
Let's see how I've been. I've been busy. I've been getting more back into reading. Last year was very low reading for me. Found it difficult to have any motivation for reading. I found it difficult to stay focused and on task, which is why I ended up not being on the podcast anymore. And so, yeah, I only ended up reading like 10 or so books last year. But this year, I've already read about 16, 17 books.
Oh, shit. Wow.
So much more than last year. And I've been enjoying reading a lot. I think even one of the months... Was it March or April? Oh, it was March. It was like 8 books in a month, and it was crazy.
Hell,
I hadn't read that much. I know I hadn't read that much in a month in years.
That's awesome. I think I can, because I also had a terrible reading year last year. But the last few years have been terrible. So great for being on a podcast. But I didn't quit the podcast. Maybe I should have. But I should have gone with you. Maybe I'll quit now.
No. Can't all abandon.
I'm also on 16 books, so snap, which is also
nice.
way more for me than previous years. I think it's double. I'm pretty sure than I have been this time through the year in previous years, which is also because we both used to read like a crazy amount. I think we were both like 100 book a year people.
Did. I don't know where I got the energy for it. Sometimes I think, like, God, how did I get the energy, the time to just read all this time like this? I don't got it anymore.
I really don't know. I guess because we were both... What were we doing? Our life together. We didn't know each other, but... We were studying. I was definitely not studying as hard as I should have been. This is when I was in university. So I spent way more time reading than I should have been doing. That's for sure one thing I was doing.
I just had a 9-to-5 job. I don't know. Maybe the smartphone has just like atrophied my brain in my 20s or something. And I don't have the focus for it now at 30.
I deleted Instagram recently, actually, because I decided I was sinking too much time onto it, which has been a great thing to do for me. Because I just get really lost in it, which is... full, and then I always feel gross afterwards. So
I know when you like lose an hour to like an Instagram scroll session, there's something that feels really filthy about it.
Yeah, especially the evening. It's just like, oh god, now it's just like quite close to bedtime, and I feel shit. So it's not very helpful. So yeah, that's really good news. I love that for you. That's really exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm also just I'm really vibing with reading at the moment. What a novel thing for someone who has a podcast, but it's just been really fun.
I found too that I've been reading more of a variety of different types of things. Like I've been reading nonfiction. I've been reading a lot of short stories. I've been reading, new releases. Going to my local library and taking advantage of getting those books for free to try out instead of buying. So I've gotten to try a bunch of different new releases, and a lot of them I haven't liked, and I've DNF'd them. But I don't even mind the DNFing anymore because it's just fun to experiment and see what I like that's coming out that's new.
Yeah, I think it's nice. Also, I think when you're liberal with DNFs, you can try anything. So if you're that
Yeah,
combination of trying lots of different things and being happy to not finish it is a lovely.
yeah.
Yeah, I've been reading quite a lot of fantasy, a lot of nonfiction. I bizarrely just picked up a Sarah J. Maas the other day, which
Really?
yeah, I know.
How did that feel?
A bit weird. It was very
Yeah.
similar to that feeling of having just scrolled on Instagram for 2 hours.
Yeah.
So I got I don't even know what it stands for. The ACOTAR books, A Court of Thorn and Roses, I think
Okay.
it's called. Thorns and Roses? Thorns and Rose, I don't know. They're the ones that everyone goes crazy about on the internet. And I got some FOMO, I think. Um, because I listened to we did an episode about Fourth Wing, which is that romantasy fantasy that everyone goes crazy for, that Jenny and Abby read, and I really enjoyed the episode. It kind of gave me this weird FOMO. So then I sort of decided to get into some Sarah J. Maas. So I've only got it out from the library and I haven't started it yet. I haven't taken that step, but the first step is there. I can see it as I look over at my bookshelf. So it's present in the room with me.
I'm not even judging you for this at all because I have a horrible admission to make, which is that I didn't read it or even try to read it, but I did get interested enough in it that I listened to the audiobook sample and I was intrigued enough, but I just didn't buy it on audiobook because the audiobook narrator was really annoying. But I got the draw. Like I kind of dipped my toes in and understood why somebody would go into the water.
Is this of ACOTAR
Yeah.
or of Fourth Wing?
This is of Sarah J. Maas, but I can't remember
Okay.
if the audiobook I listened to, like, sampled was ACOTAR. It might have been The Throne of Glass,
Oh
the one about the
yes.
assassin.
Yeah, I did read those like 10 years ago when they were massive in BookTube, the Throne of Glass. I read the first two, I think, or three. They are fine. She is supposed to be like the world's deadliest assassin, and she never kills anyone, or not for quite a long
Mm.
time, which was a bit of a gripe for me. But anyway, so yeah, I don't know. I keep looking at it. It's just sort of threatening me from the side, but why not?
I haven't read any fantasy this year, and it's something I've been missing, and I don't know why, but I'm having a difficult time getting into it. I've attempted a few fantasy books and just not been able to read them. I think, like, maybe um, I find it hard because this is going to sound like really awful, but the world is so bad right now,
Yeah,
like so awful, that I find myself constantly wanting to read like very dark, depressing things to just
yeah,
match the vibe
yeah.
a little bit. So yeah, I haven't been reading the fantasy. I should probably give my brain a little bit of a
Oh
break from the
yeah,
bleakness.
yeah. But that makes sense. Like, yeah, I know what you mean. I've been reading a lot of nonfiction, which I think has been driven by that, to be honest. But I am reading at the moment like a lighter nonfiction. It's called. I'm looking to the left because I'm looking over at it. It's called "What the Wild Sea Can Be" by Helen Scales.
I've seen this all over the place, and I
Yeah,
want to
I'll just
read
hold it
it.
up for you. It's on the non Women's Prize for Nonfiction long list, short list, something like that. I think. Um, it's about the oceans. It's a little bit. It's quite depressing because it's a lot. The sort of TLDR of it is we've fucked up the oceans massively, and we're screwed. But it also talks a lot about the animals that are in the ocean, and how they live in the ocean. And I've been
Hmm.
learning a fuck ton about animals, which has been really good. So she's been talking about like emperor penguins and why they're affected by climate change so much, like what is it in their breeding cycle and how they live that is actually affecting them. And also she's talking about sharks and like lionfish and all kinds of other animals, like and how they're going to be affected by climate change and what's actually happening with them. So, and also the scale of like fishing and how far reaching it is down into Antarctica and all that kind of stuff. So, quite very well written, I would say. Probably a little drier on the scale of sort of like very narrative nonfiction to like a more academic. It's probably leaning towards being more academic, but I find it really, yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I think it's super.
Most of the nonfiction I've been reading this year have been grief memoirs. I've been really enjoying them. I've had some bangers. The first one I read was Sloane Crosley's Grief is for People. Have you heard about
No,
this
I
one?
haven't. I'm taking notes here because this is a favorite genre of mine. So let me look it up.
Okay.
Go.
Well, it is about two grief events that happen in Sloane's life, relatively close together. And even though these grief events are like pretty different in type and scope, um, she finds that the processing for the one really bleeds into the other, and that's what this book is about. So the first event that happens is that her New York City apartment is burglarized and her heirloom jewelry is stolen. And even though she has no real love loss for the woman that gave her this jewelry, her grandmother, she sounds like kind of a wretched woman. She finds herself really like stricken by its loss and also the violation of the burglary. And then just I believe a month later, her best friend and former boss, when she was a publicist for Vintage Books, dies by suicide. She finds that she starts to have this kind of belief that if she can recover the jewelry, she could also recover this man. And she goes into this kind of delusional thinking and ways that her brain started to work and her grief for her friend and all this different stuff, right? And it goes into this almost hilarious odyssey that she has to recover this jewelry in New York City from these people who had stolen it, which ended up being some sort of Jewish mafia in New York City, some sort of organized crime, or they were selling this jewelry, and she does end up making contact, and that's actually one of the best parts of the book. And the book is also really funny and kind of dishy about the publishing industry, because she really goes into what he was like at work, and yeah, it was really a beautiful portrait of this man who's very charming, and you feel very charmed by him on the page. And yeah, you get a little sense of what it would have been like to have been his friend and to have lost him. And it's really beautiful and really well done. Yeah, I loved it.
Cool. I haven't. I've just put it on my TBR because I haven't. Don't think I've really come across it, but it sounds really, really good. Yeah, I really love grief memoirs. I really liked. I don't know if you've read Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie's one, which is
I haven't.
Notes on Grief. That's really good. That's very short. And I also really love Joan Didion's The Year of Magical Thinking. That was...
Oh, that's the other one I read.
Oh, please, tell us.
Yeah. Well, this book makes a lot of references to Joan Didion's Year of Magical Thinking. And she, Sloane Crosley, really worships the ground that Joan Didion walks on. In fact, one of the early memories she has of friendship with her friend Russell is him introducing her to a writer that she had always wanted to meet, and that was Joan Didion. And so this book, after reading it, I was like, well, now I want to read the Joan Didion book and see what it's all about. And I really liked it. The prose in it is just magnificent. The book really talks about like your life changes in a second, in a day, because her husband died suddenly while sitting at the dinner table while their daughter was in a coma. And yeah, that book is absolutely wonderful. Much darker, I would say, than Sloane Crosley's book. Sloane Crosley has a kind of levity and humor to the book that kind of buoys it along. Joan Didion's book is relentlessly tragic.
Yeah.
But also beautifully told.
Yeah, that opening chapter where he actually dies, she sort of recounts the evening where her husband dies. Fucking
Unreal.
hell. Oh, it's so good. I cried so much reading that, I think. It's so good. After it kind of, the later parts of that book kind of dropped away a bit for me. I found the first sort of two-thirds were the most powerful, I guess. The strongest for me.
It was
how you found
at
it.
times harder for me to get through all the stuff about the dinner parties and people she knew. I understood she was Hollywood, that was her life, but those sections of the book were much less interesting to me, I agree, than the early sections where you just kind of felt like in the fire of her grief was just really intense.
Yeah, I'm certainly not Sloane Crosley. I'm not a particular Joan Didion. Whatever. I'm quite neutral on the Joan Didion front. So yeah, I also I wasn't super interested in that. Yeah, that aspect of it per se. But yeah, really. Yeah, they're so good. These like grief memoirs. I love them.
Yeah, I want to read more. So if you have any more recommendations, I want to read Ann Patchett's Truth and Beauty. That's one I really want to read.
I haven't read that.
I can't believe I haven't, given how much I love Ann
No, I'm
Patchett.
surprised actually. I would have thought that'd be where you started, but no one is a judge. There's a non there's a non-fiction called "It's Okay That You're Not Okay" by Megan Devine. It's on my bedside table at the moment, which is a non-fiction aimed at. It's not a memoir per se, but she it kind of is a memoir. She was a grief counselor, and then her husband died when they were in their 40s. Um, and then it opens up with her being like, I'd been like a counselor for 20 years, and then I went through this, and I felt like there's this beautiful start in the beginning where she's like, once I went through this death of my husband, I wanted to call up every client I'd ever had and like apologize to them for the way that
Hmm.
I'd been talking to them about grief. And then she talks about how grief is very it's been made very clinical. Like there's a very sort of procedural. There's this idea of stages of grief, and there's ideas of like when it's appropriate to grieve, when it's not appropriate to grieve. How we've sort of made it into a very specific system and structure, and how devoid that is from actual reality, and how varied grieving is, and all that kind of thing. And she writes this book about basically the reality of it. It's mostly aimed at people who are trying to support someone who's grieving, or who's someone who's just in the throngs of it. So might be wondering about like if it is this normal or that kind of thing. So it's for that kind of acute period. So maybe say the first like year or two after someone's died. I found it really, yeah, it's really speaks to a lot of my own experiences, which is not something that you see a lot in a lot of books about grief, especially those non-fictions. I think that she's really right in what she says about they tend to be very made into something clinical, right? They're very like procedural and like this happens to you, and then you feel this, and then then this happens, then it's all better, and all that kind of stuff. Like I'm sort of reading it very slowly over the past couple of months, and it's been really good. Really enjoyed that.
It's called "It's Okay Not to Be
It's
Okay."
okay that you're not okay. I think it's called. I'm just
It's
looking to
okay
your
that you're
left.
not okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's okay that you're not okay. Very easy
Hmm.
reading, like in the terms of how it's actually set out. So yeah, it's yeah, particularly aimed at close like partners, that kind of thing of the person who's grieving. So
Hmm.
yeah, I found it really good. And then I love Grief is the Thing with Feathers. I don't know if you've read that. That's not a memoir per se. It's not a memoir at all.
I did read it many, many years ago, and I remember at the time I really enjoyed it. But it was a book that I think if I read it now, I would get even more out of. I remember I read it kind of quickly, and I don't think I gave it the kind of attention it
Yeah,
probably deserved. Because it's a very slim little book. You kind of can
yeah,
breeze through it, you know?
yeah. This is by Max Porter. Sorry, listener, I forgot to say. Grief is a Thing with Feathers by Max Porter. Yeah, it's a very you can sort of whip through it, but it's very deep. Fucking love that book.
Yeah.
I've read it so many times. Um, I love it. I'm gazing around my room to see what else I can mention, but I think that's about it on the really good. There's so many books about grief though. A
Yeah.
lot of people really like the C.S. Lewis. I think it's called A Grief Observed or something. I didn't really like it, but
Mm.
that's one you see recommended like a lot. But it's very. He's quite religious, so he takes a lot of comfort in religion. I think so. That sort of will speak to different people.
One that I don't know if it's necessarily a grief memoir or even totally about grief, but I listened to her interview on NPR where she was reading a portion of this book, and the portion she was reading did have to do with grief, and it was so beautiful. And that is Anne Lamott's Somehow. I think it came out this year, and it's essays on love and loss, I think. Man, the portion she read aloud on the NPR interview was about her own father's death and the fact that her father, when he was dying, and had been diagnosed with cancer. His newest girlfriend, that he had only been dating for about a year, basically dumped him off at her place and was like, I'm not taking care of him anymore. It's too much, or whatever. And she found this atrocious, this abominable behavior, and she hated this woman for many years. And the portion of the book she read aloud was trying to come to terms with this woman and
Mm.
forgiving her. And the way she wrote it was truly one of the most profound things I've ever listened to. And I was like, I have to read this book. So that is one that is also on my radar.
Oh, this looks really good. I'm just looking at it on the publisher's website. I think it's Australian. The publisher makes me think it's Australian, but anyway, she's talking about how it's every chapter is about a different kind of love, and like sort of what
Mm,
love, the uncomfortable truths that love makes you face, and how it speaks to our humanity. But they say it seems really good. Oh, shall I read? I'll just
yeah.
read the little blurb, shall I? It says, in each chapter, Lamotte refracts all the colours of the spectrum. She explores the unexpected love for a partner later in life. the bruised and bruising love for a child who disappoints and even frightens. Drawing from her own life and experience to delineate the intimate and elemental ways that love buttresses us in the face of despair, she galvanizes us to believe that tomorrow will be better than today. The lessons she underscores are that love enlightens as it educates, comforts. Oh, sorry. The lessons she underscores are that love enlightens as it educates, comforts as it energizes, and sustains as it surprises. Got a lot of adjectives in that. I'm not sure if I really
Yeah.
got that. A lot of creative verbs and adjectives.
Yeah. It does sound really good, and I have to say, like I said, the portion that she read on the interview, if you can find that NPR interview, listeners, definitely do. It's quite the reading.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find it and put it in the show notes. We also did an episode, by the way, listeners, about books about grief, so I'll pop that in the show notes. A couple of years ago, me and Jenny did it. I was about to say it's a very good episode, but I suppose that's for you to judge, not for me. But I was quite happy with it in the end. But yeah, we talk a lot about grief is the thing with feathers. That's what I remember. Alrighty, so grief memoirs. That's been a
Yeah.
go. What else has been going on? Not to drill you about everything, but
Well, I've been making a go at the Women's Prize list this year, or at least trying to. They didn't give very much time for the long list to short list, so I didn't get as much read as I would have liked, but there's been some interesting books, I would say. I guess surprises, books that people really liked that I didn't get on with. I read Nesting by Rachel O'Donnell. I really didn't like it. Everyone else seems to really love that book, the one about the woman who leaves her husband because he's abusive, and it kind of follows her as she tries to navigate the housing system in Ireland and lives in a hotel that's housing homeless people with their children, and just really did not understand what everybody is seeing in that book. But then the book that surprised me because everybody has been loving it, and I thought I would hate it, and I resisted reading it for a really long time, and I finally read it, really loved it, was All Fours by Miranda July.
now, so tell me, okay, so I have to confess, we're doing an episode about the Women's Prize in June. I've got a reading list for this episode. I haven't even started it. So I'm quite naive to the Women's Prize, so let's learn together. But this book, so can you tell me about this book? Because I'm very curious about this book, but I haven't looked up anything about it.
It's about a woman who is a semi-famous artist whose art somewhat resembles that of Miranda July's, or at least the type of artist she is somewhat resembles Miranda July. So it has that kind of auto-fiction-y thing going for it. And she's married. She has a child that I think is like about 10 years old. She's 40-ish. And she decides to go on a cross-country road trip from Los Angeles to New York City, all because of something her husband says at a dinner party, that some people are parkers and some people are drivers, meaning that some people just can't be on the road and allow their life to, drift on by, see the sights. She wants to prove that she's a driver. She goes out onto the road, but she just pulls off only 30 minutes outside of Los Angeles into this small town where she makes eyes at a young man who's making eyes at her. And she ends up having a sexless affair 30 minutes away from home with this man in a motel. And the book is absurd and funny and shocking and has this very electric, funny writing style. I was glued to the page. It's all about desire, women's desire. It really explores what happens to women's desire when they reach a certain age. It really has, just a lot going for it that made it very funny, very entertaining, and much deeper than I expected it to be. I think because I had seen so many people talk about the shocking scenes of it or the kind of gross things that happen, I just assumed that it would be a certain type of book, and actually it really wasn't what I was expecting it to be at all.
Okay. So is the writing like, I've sort of associated it with things like Melissa Broder, like Ella Baxter, who wrote New Animal. Is that the kind of, that like new, I don't know what to call that kind of fiction, that kind of quite confronting?
I don't know, because I haven't read those authors, to be honest with you, so I don't know how to make that comparison.
Have you read Eileen by Ottessa Moshfegh?
No, but I have read other Ottessa Moshfegh, and I really like Ottessa Moshfegh. I love Death in Her Hands. I thought that was an excellent book. And I can kind of see, in some ways, the humor that Ottessa Moshfegh has, like in Death in Her Hands.
Yeah.
somewhat relating to the humor in Miranda July's book, but I'm not sure how far I would really extend the comparison. I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. It's absurdly funny without being slapstick. Like at one point, this older woman starts making conversation with her, and it's this conversation that she really doesn't want to have. And she says, "For a brief moment, I thought about just pinching the back of her neck and killing her." Like in the middle of the conversation, and it's just very abrupt kind of humor that kind of buoys you along. Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, okay, that intrigues me. It seemed it's got such a. I don't think the cover or the marketing of it has been very good, to be honest, because I have such a weird impression of it from the cover.
Yeah, I expected it to be kind of a beach read too, in
Yeah,
some ways.
that's exactly what my impression was.
It's not. It's not really.
Um,
No, it's very good, very funny. But yeah, I was very much enthralled. Really, really enjoyed it.
okay, nice. I can't remember if that's on my list or not. I don't know if it is. And so the rest of the short list, there's the Safekeep, which I adored. I don't know if you've read that.
I did. I really liked it.
Oh, you did. Thank God. I was already upset at the idea that you might not have liked it.
I loved it.
Oh,
I
good.
thought that I don't spoil anything, but there's something that's revealed. I was not as surprised by the reveal as a lot of folks I think were. I think if you read it, it seems like there's fishiness going on from the beginning, but at the same time, I found it very emotionally affecting when
Yeah.
everything really comes together. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, that kind of book is the kind of writing that I was referring to when I was asking about Melissa Broder, where it's kind of a bit sexual and kind of depraved in a weird graphic way. Do you know what I mean? There's that
Yeah, kind
mild
of. Yeah.
energy, like mild
Yeah.
depravity. I'm gonna call. I'm gonna say.
Yeah. There's a scene. I don't know how much people really care about spoilers in a book like this, so I'll just describe it. There's a scene in Miranda July's book, the most intimate scene that actually happens between these two people, is when he puts her tampon in for her.
Oh God.
Um,
Oh yeah.
I know, right? But it has that, like I said, that kind of like gross, but that's actually as intimate and sexual as these two people get in the book. And actually, that is fascinating to read about as well. The fact that they have this intense desire that actually never really builds to actual sex.
Never consummated, you could say.
Yeah, it never consummates, exactly.
I wonder if Jenny's down to read this because I desperately want her to read that scene actually because that would be hilarious. I might have to suggest before this comes out. I'm the only one that knows that you've said that. And then the only one that I'm not going to read the Elizabeth Strout. I don't think we're even going to talk about that on the episode that we're talking about the Women's Prize because I just can't. I don't know. Have you read any of those? That series?
I read My Name is Lucy Barton, I think,
Yeah.
a long time ago, and I really enjoyed it, but I never continued on with the Lucy Barton, Olive Kitteridge universe.
Yeah.
There's just too much now. I don't even know where to begin.
Yeah, I think this is the fourth one. I think because O. William, which is I think the previous one that was on the Women's Prize or the Booker or something a few years ago. So I read up to there, and it's like this. Yeah, I kind of like they're fun. I liked reading them, but there's nothing in me that makes me interested to go back to them.
Yeah, I haven't felt super compelled. It's one of those things that people that do really like it really seem to love it, but it doesn't super appeal to me. Maybe one day I'll get back and decide to read all four, and maybe if I read them all back to back, it'll be like a fun series. But I just don't see reading it just because it's on the prize.
No, I am reading though, which was on the long list but didn't make it to the short list. I'm reading Dream Count, which is Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie's newest. I know she's a controversial figure in some circles, but I'm loving it. It's really good. It's about four women who know each other. They're all friends-ish, kind of acquaintances. They know each other, and so it's set. There's a quarter of the book from each of their perspectives, and it's just about their lives basically and their struggles and how they each have their own sort of battles that they fight and how they struggle to sort of be seen and have like deep friendships. So far, I'm only on the first one, and I'm just finding it really. I'm really, really enjoying it. There's the character that it follows is she's from a very wealthy family, and her friends, she doesn't have to work, and so what she tries to do is she wants to write write travel books or whatever, memoir, travel blogs and stuff. And no, it's like she's trying to sort of find purpose in her life, and her friends don't really vibe with it. No one sort of really takes her seriously, and she's just trying to sort of like find meaning. And she's going through this series of like relationships, all of with like awful men that you want to scream at, and she's sort of struggling to know like what she deserves, and like whether she should break out of them and that kind of thing. And then she's hitting this thing because she's Nigerian, I think, but living in the US, and all of the publishers and stuff that she wants to publish with, they don't really like the idea of her writing about sort of like having nice holidays in places like Mauritius. They're like, oh, you should be writing about poverty, and they're trying to get her to write about like basically famines in Ethiopia. And she's like, well, I don't want to. Like, A, I'm Nigerian. B, I just want to write about, like, I don't want to write that. I don't want to write about like, world issues. And they are not really happy with that. So it's sort of an interesting idea about people not fitting into like or sort of like diversity being present in only sort of one way, if you know what I mean. So there's a lot of interesting elements of the book. I'm really enjoying it.
That is one that I own, and I've not read it yet, but when it came, I did sit down and read the first few pages, just because I am a Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie fan. I know she's controversial, blah, 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 but her writing is such that I don't know what to say. The heart wants what the heart wants. She's really good. And so I sat down and read the first few pages, and I was really blown away by the writing. The first few pages are a Zoom conversation that is going on between an African family, and some of them are still living in Africa, some of them are living abroad in the heights of the pandemic, and just the way she writes that one conversation, and the problems with the communication on Zoom, and the kind of absurdness that it was, like Zoom family phone calls at the time. I was like, wow, she really like just nails this. She's such an astute writer. So I am really excited to read that, but it's a big chunky book. So I kind of want to make sure that I'm sitting down with it at a time when I really feel like I have the headspace for it. So
makes sense.
Yeah.
I met her actually a few years ago at a book signing. She was amazing. I was really starstruck by her. She's got an incredible like energy. Like I don't know. She's just very has a very overwhelming presence. She's just very I don't know. She signed a book of mine. I don't know. I found the whole experience very overwhelming. Actually, she was just very impactful as a person. She's got an amazing presence. She was very cool.
Yeah, I am excited to read that one.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying. I'm surprised I didn't make the show list, to be honest. But anyway.
Yeah, what were the other ones on the short list? I know you said Elizabeth Strout.
Good Girl by Aria Arba, All Fours by Miranda July, and then The Persians, Tell Me Everything, which is the Strout, The Safekeep, and Fundamentally.
The Persians is one that I personally DNF'd. I got about halfway through it, actually, and decided I just didn't want to continue. Wasn't nothing particularly wrong with it, but just nothing particularly great for me either. But Good Girl is one that I want to read. I've heard good things about it.
Okay, yeah, I'm not super motivated by that one. I think the plot it's sort of set in like nightclubs in Berlin or something, and I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah, it is.
I have to say the cover for The Persians I find it very unfortunate. I don't know. What do you think of it? I'm looking at the yellow one that's got her like...
The UK cover is unfortunate. The US cover is much better.
Okay.
The US cover is like a woman, and it's all like watercolor, and she's laying on her side, and there's this ice cube melting in front of her, and it's very abstract and
okay,
cool.
Nice. That's better. And then they've got the version, the edition of the Safekeep on there, which I don't like, which is the door one that Belle really likes. I like the apple one. The pear one, yeah. We like the pears. Belle likes the doors. Jenny and Belle like the doors. They're wrong. And then Fundamentally, I don't know anything about. So this is good, showing how well prepared I am for this episode that's coming up. But plenty of time between now and then. It's about an academic who's been disowned by her puritanical mother. Lovely word choice. And dumped by her lover. All right, sure. We'll see how that goes. So that's the Women's Prize. I read it. I've read a little bit of fantasy, which I can tell you about this year. I read T. Kingfisher. Have you ever read them?
No, I know who she is, but I haven't read her.
I read this. I just saw her cropping up constantly on Reddit, people being like, "Oh, you amazing." So I read Thornhedge, which is this retelling, basically, of like the old what's the fairy tale where there's that girl sleeping and then the prince comes in and. Is that Sleeping Beauty? Probably.
Sleeping Beauty,
might be Sleeping Beauty.
What's the one about the beauty who's sleeping?
That beautiful woman who's sleeping. What is that called? It's a retelling of that, and it kind of spins the narrative on its head a bit, where the person who gave them the curse, who gave the girl the curse, is actually trying to protect everyone else because the girl is like some horrible fairy changeling is trying to kill everyone, basically. So she's basically sedated to try and stop her from destroying the world. And then there's all these knights trying to break in because they're like, oh, but she's beautiful, so therefore we must rescue her. So it was very short, but I quite liked it. It was a nice, kind of reminded me of Lynn Llewellyn's writing style. Actually, it had a very similar writing style. I don't really know exactly what it was about it that made it feel similar, but just kind of like a well told, clear, good scene. Do you know what I mean? Like strong vision of the scene. The actual way that the plot unfolded and the writing itself was quite economical, I guess, descriptive, if you know what I mean. It's not sort of like super lyrical or super flowery or anything like that. It's just kind of like all happening, but it's a very vivid world, so it's all kind of right in front of you, which is what I kind of think about. I don't know what you think of Lynn Llewellyn's writing, but that's how I kind of would describe it.
Yeah, I do think Lynn Llewellyn has a good sense of scene and helping you visualize things, especially in battle. I oftentimes find sword fights, anything like that in fantasy, I'm like, what's moving what? Who's clashing with who?
God,
like I can't follow any of that. But I never really feel that way with like her stuff because I have a much better sense of like visually what's happening with her writing. Well, that's good because I need some fantasy recommendations. I've got all these fantasy books on my shelves, and to be honest, just none of them seem to appeal to me anymore. I thought about getting rid of them all because I'm like, I don't know if I'm ever going to read these.
Like massive ones.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think they're all just too long anymore. I don't think I have the headspace for it.
I've been trying to find like standalones, because where are the freaking standalone fantasies? Why are they all such a massive? Why is it like a 4,000 page commitment? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, seriously, I agree.
It's annoying.
We say as like our favorites are Robin Hobb,
which we've both read multiple times. Sure. I also read this other standalone fantasy called like, oh god, I'm so well prepared. Ink. Hang on, I have to look it up because it's like 4 nouns, and I can never put the nouns in the right order. It's like Ink, Blood, Sister, Scribe, or something like that.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Ink, Blood, Sister, Scribe. I got it the right way around. Which is about, it's quite a lot like The Binding by Bridget Collins, which is another nonfiction. Another standalone fantasy which I loved. And this is about magic is real, but the way that you can actually use it is very high cost, and so it's very draining on the person who has to use it. And magic is bound up in books, but the way that you actually bind magic into books is very like gruesome. So it's a very like high cost thing to do, I guess. And it's about there's not many people in the world who can kind of make spells and that kind of thing, and it's about the very few people who can do it, how they are kind of like trapped by other people who are trying to sort of capture their power. And it follows one particular guy who is sort of has grown up from a very young age, sort of being basically groomed is too strong a word, but he's sort of been brought up in this big rich house, and they've sort of been telling a particular narrative about his role in the world, and he's slowly starting to realize that it's all smoke and mirrors around the fact they're trying to keep his power so that he will like make spells for them, basically. And it's all sort of I really enjoyed it. It's set in the real world. It's standalone, which is really nice, and it's about sort of bookbinding and that kind of thing. So I just found the sort of vibe of it is really nice. They're all in like a lot of libraries, and yeah.
Who is that by?
Emma Torzus, I think. I don't know this author.
Okay.
I haven't read anything else by her. I don't know any of her other books. I literally got it from the library. I don't know why I'm saying literally. As in, I just randomly saw it in the library and I picked it up. I wasn't recommended it or anything like that.
That sounds good.
But yeah, it was quite good. Yeah, so I quite liked it. I'm sort of trying to find more like random standalones because I think they're a bit of a missing in the fantasy genre.
Yeah, they are. I feel like older fantasy tended to have more oftentimes standalone books, but much older fantasy.
Yeah,
seems like nowadays it's nothing but really long series.
Well, there was the trilogy phase, which I think we're out of now. I want to say.
Yeah.
You remember, like, the 2002 to, I don't know, 2012, everything was a freaking trilogy. God, that was driving me crazy.
Now the publishers know that people, once they have something like this, like Fourth Wing or whatever, it doesn't matter. They're just going to keep munching. They'll keep doing even longer series now.
Yeah, they're spinning it out more. I reckon 5 is about They definitely push it out more. They're all called like, remember they were all called like noun and noun,
thing
like
and thing and thing. Yeah,
Smoke and bone, shadow and mirror, like all that kind of like, yeah, Lee Bardugo, Lady Taylor, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
What an era. That was a special era in publishing.
One thing that I've been reading for the past few weeks just very consistently, and I cannot stop and I am totally hooked, is Laurie Moore short stories.
Oh,
Do you know who Laurie Moore
I
is?
think
Have you read
so.
her
I think
before?
we've talked about her on the podcast before. It's sort
I
of.
think we might have because last year or at some point I was trying to read a short story collection by her called Birds of America, and I read the first few stories and I thought I was going to like plow through it, and then I never finished it.
Yeah.
And then this year, like a couple months ago, I started picking up her other collections, and I have just been reading one short story a day on my lunch break at work, and it's been lovely. I like it a lot because you have just enough time to sit down with one complete narrative and feel just the shape and structure of just one story, and it feels very, like, satisfying on the lunch break. And man, she is probably one of my top favorite short story writers
Oh,
ever
nice.
now. Like, she is really fantastic. A lot of her stories are about relationships between men and women, kind of all stages of life. So the first collection, full length that I read by her was called Bark. It was one she wrote kind of middle of her career, and it's a lot about people in their middle ages in relationships, dating after divorce. Her writing has a real wry, sharp edge to it, kind of funny, sharply comic, and at the same time, she doesn't feel like cynical or overly negative either. Her books or her stories still have this very like open-hearted quality. So that was Bark. That is probably the sharpest of her fiction that I've read so far. Just probably of that kind of like wit, definitely
Mm.
has the most edge of all of her stuff that I've read so far. But then I went back and I read her first story collection that she wrote when she was only like 27, 28 years old, in 1985, called Self Help. It is such a banger of a
Oh,
short
wow.
story
Okay.
collection. Like, it is so good. Um, a lot of the stories take on the form of like a how-to pamphlet, the like self-helpy thing. So the first story is called "How to Be an Other Woman," and it's about this young woman who finds herself having a relationship with a married man, and slowly turning into a cliche and like trying to deal with it.
Yeah, right.
And it's full of this just like hilarious, funny wordplay, and like I did come prepared
Oh, here
to
we go.
show some of the wordplay here because it's just great. Uh, she says, "When you were 6, you thought mistress meant to put your shoes on the wrong feet. Now you are older and know it can mean many things, but essentially it means to put your shoes on the wrong feet." Which I thought was such a funny line,
That's
and it
quite
has
good.
such a good like pun. And then this is the one bit that I like, probably one of my favorite passages that I've read this year. Same story, falling in love with this man who doesn't truly belong to you. Whisper, "Don't go yet," as he glides out of your bed before sunrise, and you lie there on your back, cooling, naked between the sheets and smelling of musky, oniony sweat. Feel gray, like an abandoned locker room towel. Watch him as he again pulls on his pants, his sweater, his socks and shoes. Reach out and hold his thigh as he leans over and kisses you quickly, telling you not to get up, that he'll lock the door when he leaves. In the smoky darkness, you see him smile weakly, guiltily, and attempt a false, jaunty wave from the doorway. Turn on your side, toward the wall, so you don't have to watch the door close. You hear it thud nonetheless, the jangle of keys and snap of the bolt lock, the footsteps loud, then fading down the staircase, the clunk of the street door, then nothing. All his sounds blending with the city, his face passing namelessly uptown in a bus or a badly heated cab, the room, the whole building you live in, shuddering at the windows as a truck roars by the Queensboro Bridge. Just like so much like
Beautiful.
wonderful imagery. I love the line, like an abandoned locker room towel. So much just
Mm.
longing and betrayal all in one paragraph. She's just delightful. I get something out of every story.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. I haven't. I need to read that. I think that sounds really good.
It is really
Yeah,
good.
that's also reading short stories on your lunch break. What a great idea! I love that.
Yeah, I just have enough time to get through one, and it feels really nice.
Yeah, yeah, it's good to start it. And I was reading them. I had a habit of reading them every morning, so I would sort of read one first thing. And so I read like Brandon Taylor's short story collection, which I really liked. That was great. Um,
I need to read him.
and I'm currently reading Claire Keegan's. This is for an upcoming episode, and that's really good. Antarctica. It's really, really good. They're very hit and miss for me, short story writers. So it's good to. I know we both had Jhumpa Lahiri, right? You've read a fair bit of hers.
Oh, love her.
Yeah, I read
Yeah.
a couple of things on your recommendation. They were all really, really good. Can't remember which one it was that you made me read. Emperor Mal? No, what's it called?
The Interpreter of...
That's it.
Yeah, The Interpreter of Maladies, yeah. That is one of the best collections ever.
That was really good. Well, that's it for me, really. Have you got any more contributions?
No? Do you have any big reading plans for the year? I don't know if you were doing anything fun or special.
I'm not. I'm trying to get through. I am doing the TBR spin, hosted by Sarah Freshley, kind of, where you give 12 books at the beginning of the year that are on your TBR, and then every month she makes generates a prompt, and you choose from that, just to try and get my TBR down a little, my physical one. I say I'm doing that. It's May. I've done 2 out of the 5 months, so I'm sort of doing that. But that's all right. That's been fun. And then I'm really trying to just sort of like read what I want. I'm avoiding kind of book lists and stuff this year, trying to do a bit less prescribed reading that I normally have to do for the pod. And I'm just really having a good reading year. I don't know. Basically, I'm just kind of picking out what I want. Trying to focus a little bit more on books I own, because I have so many not so many, but a lot that annoy me, because they're ones that I want to read that I just haven't read after years and years. So I'm trying to get to them. Most of them are also authors that I have read before that I've really liked. So that's really annoying to me. So that's what I've been trying to focus on this year. But I'm just having a banging good time, really, to be honest.
I have been too.
Yeah? Good.
As far as I don't have the one thing that I'm doing that isn't really a yearly thing, but it's like the one bit of prescribed reading I'm doing is I picked up this book that's called 1001 Books to Read Before You Die. And I picked it up thinking to myself, I bet I've read a decent number of these books. I'm somebody who's read a lot of books, surely. How many do you think I've read?
200?
Not even remote. 4.
What?
4. Now, in my defense, there were a lot of books on this list it was half nonfiction, half fiction. So already,
right, okay.
A lot of books I haven't read.
Yeah.
But even then, I was still shocked that I had only read 4, and nothing made me feel like a dumber, more illiterate person. Realizing I had only read 4 books on this list.
God,
and so I am trying really hard to read some of these books, and I'm reading Silent Spring by Rachel Carson right now.
Oh, yeah.
And, yeah. So yeah, that is the other thing, is I'm every once in a while going to try and pick up a book from this list and educate myself.
Yeah, that's
a little
nice. Is she that must be nonfiction, right? Because she's a nature writer, right, mostly?
Yes, she was. She died a long time ago.
Oh.
She wrote this, she was the one that wrote this book about the insecticides. That's what Silent Spring is about.
Oh, okay.
And how they were killing the birds and killing most of the natural wildlife in the United States because there was so much DDT being spread.
Delightful. What a lovely note to end on.
Yeah. Ecological collapse. And she didn't know how bad it would get.
Yeah, she's speaking from the optimistic 60s or whatever it was.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, I have a couple of those book lists. I got really inspired by the Marlon and Jake Read Dead People podcast, which is Marlon James' podcast. Because they talk about classics in a way that's so animated and unique that it really, every time I listen to their podcast, I'm like, God, I need to read all of Anthony Trollope or like whoever they're talking about. Because they're both so well read and they just talk about classics in such a lively, interesting way that it really like makes me feel like I should be reading it. And then I don't, but I try to. And I did pay a bit of attention to the New York Times, that list that came out, I think it was last year, the Reader's Pick and then the Critics Pick.
Yes.
So I've been sort of like picking up random ones from the Reader's Pick every now and then because I'd read a lot of those. So I was like, oh, maybe I can finish a list. I think I'd read about half of them.
I did fare better on that list. I had read much more on that list than the 1001 to Read Before You Die.
Well, that's probably because a lot of them were like big releases from the last like 30 years. So it makes sense that we they were much more outstanding.
that was a fun list, and I thought they did a good job too of the way you could like. They were very smart in their little like
Oh
gimmicking
yeah.
marketing gimmicks for it, where you could like click and then it would generate the graphic
Oh
of all the
yeah.
books you had read, and yeah, they handled that pretty
Those
smartly,
people
I
knew
have
what
to
they were
say.
doing. Yeah.
Yeah, they really did. That's one of the true like literary sensations that happened across social media. It was
Yep.
pretty fun.
Yep. It reminded me of that puzzle thing that you and Jenny and Alice also get into. That
I know, I love that thing.
I still don't even know what it is. It's some bizarre British puzzle that they get into like once a year. I don't know what it is.
It's really hard. It's where I can't remember what it's actually called either, but it comes out in the holiday season, and
Yeah.
it's just a really difficult challenge.
Yeah, then everyone gets obsessed with it, and I'm like, I have no idea what's going on. And you see posts all over the place, and I'm like, all right, about like different clues. I'm like, I don't know. Never done it. All right, well, that might be it, mates.
Yeah,
Feel happy?
thank you for yeah, thank you for letting me ramble with you again.
Oh, please come back anytime. It was really. I'm so pleased you came back. So it was really delightful. So thanks for coming on. Thanks for talking to us about your books. I'm so
Yes.
happy for you that we're on a good reading year. That's great news for
I
us.
know.
Really pleased.
We
about
really
that.
deserved it.
We did.
We've been good, damn it.
We needed something.
Yeah.
And we will hopefully welcome you back in the not too distant future. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Oh, I should say something about the podcast. I forgot about it. We have a podcast. You can follow us on Instagram, follow us on TikTok. We have an email address that you can email to. We have a newsletter. I forgot to do the ad while we were talking. Oh well, that's fine. Yeah, thank you for listening so much. We hope you enjoyed the episode, and we will talk to you again next week. Goodbye. I can't believe I forgot the ad, idiot.